Good morning, spiritual companions. We are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Continuing Chapter 9, Some Intimate Disciples. Saturday, June 13th, 1885. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was resting in his room after the midday meal. A pundit was sitting on a mat on the floor. Near the north door of the room stood a Brahmin woman who had recently lost her only daughter and was stricken with grief. Kishori, too, was in the room. M. arrived and saluted the master. He was accompanied by Dvija and a few other devotees. Sri Ramakrishna was not well. He had been suffering from an inflamed throat. These were the hot days of summer. M. was not keeping well either, and of late he had not been able to visit Sri Ramakrishna frequently. Master to M. How are you? It is nice to see you. The bell fruit you sent me the other day was a very good one. M. I am slightly better now, sir. Master, it is very hot. Take a little ice now and then. I have been feeling the heat very much myself, so I ate a great deal of ice cream. That is why I have this sore throat. The saliva smells very bad. I have said to the Divine Mother, Mother, make me well. I shall not eat ice cream any more. Next, I said to her that I wouldn't eat ice either. Since I have given my word to the Mother, I shall certainly not eat these things. But sometimes I become forgetful. Once I said that I wouldn't eat fish on Sundays, but one Sunday I forgot and ate fish, but I cannot consciously go back on my word. A devotee had brought some ice. Again and again the master asked M, Shall I eat it? M said humbly, Please don't eat it without consulting the Mother. Sri Ramakrishna did not take the ice. The master began to talk about divine incarnation. Master to M. Do you know why God incarnates himself as a man? It is because through a human body one can hear his words. He sports through it. He tastes divine bliss through a human body. But through his other devotees, God manifests only a small part of himself. A devotee is like something you get a little juice from after much sucking. Like a flower, you get a drop of honey from after much sucking. To M, do you understand this? M, yes, sir, very well. Master, there is such a thing as inborn tendencies. After performing many good deeds in his previous lives, when a man is born for the last time, he becomes guileless. He acts somewhat like a madcap. To tell you the truth, everything happens by God's will. When he says yea, everything comes to pass, and when he says nay, everything comes to a standstill. The Brahmin lady stood near the north wall. She was a widow. Her only daughter had been married to a very aristocratic man, a landlord in Calcutta with the title of Raja. Whenever the daughter visited her, she was escorted by liveried footmen. Then the mother's heart swelled with pride. Just a few days ago, the daughter had died, and now she was beside herself with sorrow. For the last few days she had been running to the master from her home at Bagbazar like an insane person. She was eager to know whether Sri Ramakrishna could suggest any remedy for her unquenchable grief. Sri Ramakrishna resumed the conversation. Master to M, the truth is that God alone is real and all else unreal. Men, universe, house, children, all these are like the magic of the magician. The magician strikes his wand and says, Come delusion, come confusion. Then he says to the audience, open the lid of the pot and see how the birds fly into the sky. But the magician alone is real, and his magic unreal. The unreal exists for a second and then vanishes. God is like an ocean, and living beings are its bubbles. They are born there and they die there. Children are like the few small bubbles around a big one. God alone is real. Make an effort to cultivate love for him and find out the means to realize him. What will you gain by grieving? All sat in silence. The Brahmin lady said, "May I go home now?" The master said to her tenderly, "Do you want to go now? It is very hot. Why now? You can go later in a carriage with the devotees." Captain arrived with his children. Sri Ramakrishna said to Kishori, "Please show the temples to the children." He began to talk to Captain. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the small couch, facing the north, and he asked Captain to sit in front of him on the same couch. A devotee said, "Bankim has written a life of Krishna." "Master, I hear that Bankim says that one needs passions, such as lust." A devotee, "He has written in his magazine that the purpose of religion is to give expression to our various faculties, physical, mental, and spiritual." Captain, "I see. He believes that lust and so forth are necessary, but he does not believe that Sri Krishna could enjoy his sportive pleasure in the world, that God could incarnate himself in human form and sport in Vrindavan with Radha and the gopis." Master smiling, "But these things are not written in the newspaper. How could he believe them?" A man said to his friend, "Yesterday, as I was passing through a certain part of the city, I saw a house fall with a crash." "Wait," said the friend, "let me look it up in the newspaper." But this incident wasn't mentioned in the paper. Thereupon the man said, "But the paper does not mention it." His friend replied, "I saw it with my own eyes." "Be that as it may," said the man, "I can't believe it as long as it is not in the newspaper." How can Bankim believe that God sports about as a man? He doesn't get it from his English education. It is very hard to explain how God fully incarnates himself as a man. Isn't that so? The manifestation of infinity in this human body, only 3.5 cubits tall. Captain, Krishna is God himself. In describing him, we have to use such terms as whole and part. Master, whole and part are like fire and its sparks. An incarnation of God is for the sake of the bhaktas and not of the jnanas. Sri Ramakrishna was talking thus to Captain and the devotees when Jagopal Sen and Trilokya of the Brahmo Samaj arrived. They saluted the master and sat down. Sri Ramakrishna looked at Trilokya with a smile and continued the conversation. "Master, it is on account of the ego that one is not able to see God. In front of the door of God's mansion lies the stump of ego. One cannot enter the mansion without jumping over the stump. There was once a man who acquired the power to tame ghosts. One day, at his summons, a ghost appeared. The ghost said, 'Now tell me what you want me to do. The moment you cannot give me any work, I shall break your neck.' The man had many things to accomplish, and he had the ghost to do them all, one by one. At last he could find nothing more for the ghost to do. "Now," said the ghost, "I am going to break your neck." "Wait a minute," said the man. "I shall return presently." He ran to his teacher and said, "Revered sir, I am in great danger. This is my trouble." And he told his teacher his trouble and asked, "What shall I do now?" The teacher said, "Do this. Tell the ghost to straighten this kinky hair." The ghost devoted itself day and night to straightening the hair. But how could it make a kinky hair straight? The hair remained kinky. Likewise, the ego seems to vanish this moment, but it reappears the next. Unless one renounces the ego, one does not receive God's grace. A guardian is appointed only for a minor. A boy cannot safeguard his property. Therefore, the king assumes responsibility for him. God does not take over our responsibilities unless we renounce our ego. Once, Lakshmi and Narayana were seated in Vaikuntha when Narayana suddenly stood up. Lakshmi had been stroking his feet. She said, "Lord, where are you going?" Narayana answered, "One of my devotees is in great danger. I must save him." With these words, he went out, but he came back immediately. Lakshmi said, "Lord, why have you returned so soon?" Narayana smiled and said, "The devotee was going along the road, overwhelmed with love for me. Some washermen were drying clothes on the grass, and the devotee unknowingly walked over the clothes. At this, the washermen chased him and were going to beat him with their sticks. So I ran out to protect him." "But why have you come back?" asked Lakshmi. Narayana laughed and said, "I saw the devotee himself picking up a brick to throw at them." All laugh. "So I came back." Trilokya. It is very difficult to get rid of the ego. People only think they are free from it. Master, Gauri would not refer to himself as I, lest he should feel egotistic. He would say, "This" instead. I followed his example and would refer to myself as this instead of I. Instead of saying, "I have eaten," I would say, "This has eaten." Mathur noticed it and said one day, "What is this, revered father? Why should you talk that way?" Let them talk that way. They have their egotism. You are free from it. You don't have to talk like them. During this stage of sadhana, one should describe God by all his attributes. One day, Hazra said to Narendra, "God is infinity. Infinite is his splendor. Do you think he will accept your offerings of sweets and bananas or listen to your music? This is a mistaken notion of yours." Narendra at once sank 10 fathoms. So I said to Hazra, "You villain! Where will these youngsters be if you talk to them like that? How can a man live if he gives up devotion? No doubt God has infinite splendor, yet he is under the control of his devotees. A rich man's gatekeeper came to the parlor where his master was seated with his friends. He stood on one side of the room. In his hand he had something covered with a cloth. He was very hesitant. The master asked him, "Well, gatekeeper, what have you in your hand?" Very hesitantly, the servant took out a custard apple from under the cover, placed it in front of his master, and said, "Sir, it is my desire that you eat this." The master was impressed with his servant's devotion. With great love, he took the fruit in his hand and said, "Ah, this is a very nice custard apple. Where did you pick it? You must have taken a great deal of trouble to get it." A man cannot renounce action as long as he desires worldly enjoyment. As long as one cherishes a desire for enjoyment, one performs action. End of today's reading.